Welcome to ABC Interactive English. Hello everyone, I am Mike.
And I am Sydney, and today we are going to be continuing our conversation. This is day 2 of talking about the weather.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great conversation topic when you're meeting someone new. Maybe you're just running into your friends. And of course, the weather is always around us. I've talked about the weather to people on airplanes, people standing in line for a bus, waiting in line at a coffee shop or something like that. Total strangers, people I don't know, but lovely day today. Or, oh, I hear it's going to rain tomorrow. Or there's a typhoon coming in a few days, you could say if you live in Taiwan. Because yeah, the weather affects us all. It's always changing, and it's also useful information, right? We watch the news to know what's going on around the world, but you know, if the price of oil changes a little bit, it doesn't really affect my life right now today, but if there's going to be a thunderstorm this afternoon, it will definitely change my plans in a big way. So that's why it's always a safe thing to chat about. And also, everybody, like a lot of things, have different opinions about the weather. What do you think of the weather here in Taiwan, let's say in the summer or at the end of the summer like we are now?
Yeah, you know, typically I do really like the weather in Taiwan during the summer. I will say compared to where I'm from, it's definitely much hotter and much more humid here in the summers. So I'm from New York, which is in the northeastern part of the United States, where in the summer it can definitely be very hot, but it's not as humid there as it is here. So I do like Taiwan summers, but the humidity can just take it a little bit over the top for me. It can definitely be a little bit too hot sometimes.
I totally agree. I'm from Canada, but actually where I'm from is just a few hundred miles from where Sydney's from. So the weather is very similar, but many foreign people and many Taiwanese, of course, who were born here, they notice that in Taiwan, it can be very humid, or as Sydney said, the humidity can be rather high. That's actually a word we're going to be using in our dialogue, and it's a very useful word when talking about this kind of hot, wet weather that we get in Taiwan. Humid just kind of means there's a lot of water in the air, right? And what that means is that you can feel very sticky. If you sweat, the sweat doesn't go away, so your body can kind of stay wet. And also, maybe if it's humid, if you're hanging your clothes or you're, putting your towel up after a shower or a bath, it takes a long time to dry because the air is very humid. Of course, if you go to a jungle, you would expect that. If you go to a desert, it would not be humid. It would be very dry. It can still be hot, but it can be dry. And of course, your body feels differently when it's hot and humid or when it's hot and dry. And we find it very hot and humid here in the summer and sometimes in the winter too. All right, so let's talk about the weather with two new characters we have today, Joel and Haley. And I think it's gonna get pretty hot and sticky. Joel is talking to Haley.
You are from New Zealand, right?
Yes, my family lives in Queenstown. It is on the South Island.
What is the weather like there?
It is spring now, so the days are long and not too chilly. However, it is also still snowy until October.
All right, so welcome back. Again, this is day 2 of talking about the weather. And again, we do have our two characters here, Joel and Haley.
Yes.
And we are going to find out how they start their conversation about the weather.
Sounds good. Let's get into it.
Yeah, all right. So Joel is talking to Haley.
All right.
All right, probably talking about the weather, I'm assuming. All right. Now, what does Joel ask Haley?
All right, well, we're from different countries, but actually the places we were born in, Canada and America, are close together. But yes, if you meet someone from a very far part of the world that maybe you don't know a lot about, talking about the weather is another wonderful way of getting to know that person and, learning about where they're from. And so that's how they begin. Joel says to Haley, "You are from New Zealand, right?" So he knows a little bit. Maybe they're classmates, they have a friend, that they share or something. So he knows a little bit, but he's just wants to check this information. "You are from New Zealand, right?" And his voice would go up at the end, probably because he thinks this is correct, but he isn't sure. So he just wants to make sure. You are from New Zealand, right? And at this point, I'll hand it over to Sydney because she can do a perfect New Zealand accent. Right?
Oh no, don't put me on the spot.
I'm just showing how to use the question.
Yeah.
You can say, no, I don't, or wrong.
Yes,
that would be
absolutely
a totally fine
not.
answer.
Oh my goodness. I think if I tried, my accent would maybe come out to be a bit more Australian.
Well, that's
But I think
pretty
Australian
close.
and New Zealand, they're close and they're similar, but not quite the same.
I just know in New Zealand they say the word pin when they talk about a pen.
Oh.
I need to write with my pin. But that's all I know.
That was pretty good.
And that was pretty bad.
That was a good one,
Thank
right?
you for lying. All right, so anyways, what does Haley, who's kind of, she is a person from New Zealand, but she sounds surprisingly like a person from New York, too.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, strange. What does she say?
So Haley says yes. So to answer Joel's question, she said yes, meaning yes, she's from New Zealand. She says, yes, my family lives in Queenstown. It is on the South Island. Oh, okay. All right, Queenstown. So she's saying that Queenstown is on the South Island. And so an island is just a body of land that is completely surrounded by water on all sides. Just, you know, very similar to Taiwan, right?
Oh, yeah.
Taiwan is a country and also an island. Japan is another one that's also a country and also an island. So, yeah, island is just one piece of land surrounded by water on all sides. And that's where her family is from.
There you go. And if you look at a map, New Zealand kind of looks like an upside down boot that's been broken in half. And yeah, they talk about the North Island where most of the big cities, I think Auckland is up there, Wellington, I'm not sure. And then there's the South Island. This is where a lot of people go because it's beautiful. That's where they filmed Lord of the Rings and things like that, down on that bigger part, the South Island of New Zealand. And that's where she's from in Queenstown. And we will find out all about the weather in Queenstown after we check in with Tina.
Hello, I'm Tina. Joe 正在和 Haley 聊天。Joe 问 Haley 是不是来自纽西兰。Haley 说是的，她的家人住在皇后镇。皇后镇位于南岛。我们来看看单字 Island 名词岛。We visited a small island last summer. 我们去年夏天去了一座小岛。文法的部分刚刚提到了 A is from B. A 来自 B。B 通常为国家、城市等与地点相关的名词哦。举例来说 My friend is from Canada. 我的朋友来自加拿大。接着我们回到对话当中。
All right, we are back with our conversation between Joel and Haley as they talk about the weather from Haley's home country. She is from New Zealand. I guess they're not there because they're talking about the weather, what it's like there in New Zealand, because Joel has never been there, so he doesn't really know. You know, is New Zealand a hot country? Is it cold? Does it snow? Does it rain? I don't know. Please tell me. And that's what he asks by using this question. What is the weather like there? In other words, tell me about the weather in that place because that's where you're from. So what is the weather like there?
All right, so Haley says, it is spring now, so the days are long and not too chilly. Okay, pretty typical for spring. However, it is also still snowy until October. Oh my goodness. Oh, Haley, I couldn't imagine.
Yes, that is quite cold,
Yeah.
especially since, of course, here in Taiwan in September, it's still the summer. It's still very hot. Now, of course, you got to remember that in the south part of the world, New Zealand, Australia, South America, much of it, Argentina, Chile, places like that, the seasons are kind of flipped over, right? So for us, June, July, August is summer. For them down in the south, that's the winter. That would be like November, December, and January for them. So yes, it makes sense that the weather is chilly and it is also snowy until October. Yeah, it will be snowy or cold for quite a while. When we use this preposition until, we're kind of talking from this time to that time, all right? So it's basically describing a period of time. I will be in Hong Kong until next week. So let's say I'm leaving today or tomorrow, and then I will be there over a weekend until next week. It could be more careful than that. I will be busy in a meeting until 10:30 a.m. So we look at the time now, maybe it's 9 a.m. I will be busy for 1.5 hours from 9 to 10:30, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. until that time. So the starting time, we know. The ending time, that is the one that we are describing using this word until. All right, let's go over to Tina. She will be talking to us until we learn a whole lot of good stuff. So let's pay attention.
Joel 问 Haley 那里的天气怎么样？ Haley 说现在是春天，所以白天很长，也不会太冷。不过到10月之前都还是会下雪。我们来看看单字 until 介系词，直到什么的时候。Please wait until tomorrow. 请等到明天。文法的部分刚刚提到了 What is the weather like? 天气怎么样？答句的主词多用 it. Like 在这里是介系词，意思是像。比如说 What is the weather like today? 今天天气怎么样？ It is warm and sunny. 天气温暖又晴朗。接着我们回到对话当中。
Okay, guys, that's the first part of our dialogue, and we've learned a little bit about New Zealand, not a whole lot. So we're going to be going back to the conversation with Joel and Haley as we learn more about Haley's hometown of Queenstown in New Zealand and what the weather's like there. We'll do that right now.
It is still snowy? How is that possible?
Queenstown is in the mountains, so sometimes it can get cold and windy.
That sounds like here in the winter.
You are right. However, it isn't that humid.
All right, back in our dialogue, Joel is learning from Haley what the weather is like in Queenstown, Haley's hometown in New Zealand. And she just said, oh, it can also be very cold and snowy. He's thinking, wait a minute, but it's not the coldest part of the year. You know, why do you have snow? So he says, is it still snowy? Is there still snow on the ground? When we say snowy, we just mean there is snow in the weather. There's snow on the ground, or it might snow later, that kind of idea. Is it still snowy? Can you still see snow around you? How is that possible? Thinking it must be too warm for there still to be snow on the ground. If something is possible, it can happen. It can be true. That doesn't mean it is going to happen or it is true, but it's possible. All right. So for example, it's possible for people to go to the moon. We're not doing it right now. I'm not going next week, but it is possible. We've done it before. It's not a crazy idea, but it would not be possible for a shark to swim to the moon. That would be impossible, not possible. How would the shark do it? We'd have to get a spaceship for the shark, and that would be very complicated.
Yes. All right, so Haley says, well, Queenstown is in the mountains. Oh, okay, now that makes sense. So sometimes it can get cold and windy. Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Sometimes, you know, when you're kind of on flat land or in a city, it's a lot warmer and the weather's a bit different. Yeah. And then when you go into the mountains, it gets a lot colder and the weather kind of shifts and it changes a lot. So if Queenstown is in the mountains, right? And a mountain is just a very high, tall, raised area of land, typically where people, you know, go hiking, or some people, like in Haley's case, you know, her family kind of lives up in the mountains where the weather is a lot colder. And I think even in Taiwan, sometimes, right, in the winter, it will never, well, at least I hope it never gets cold enough to actually snow in Taipei City.
Oh, not in Taipei, no.
But in the mountains, I think in Yangmingshan National Park, sometimes they'll see snow up there because Yangmingshan is so much higher up in elevation than Taipei City.
There you go, of course.
Very similar.
And the bigger mountains like Alishan, Yushan, Taipingshan, they do get snow and people do enjoy that, but not really enough to go skiing or anything, no.
Yeah.
But yes, there we go. So let's go over to Tina one last time.
Joe 很惊讶，皇后镇还会下雪？怎么可能？ Haley 说，皇后镇在山区，所以有时候会变得很冷，而且风很大。我们来看看单字 possible， 形容词， 可能的。It's possible to make mistakes. 出点小差错在所难免。Mountain,名词，山。There is snow on the mountain. 山上有雪。接着我们回到对话当中。
Okay, getting back to our dialogue, Haley was saying that New Zealand, even though it can be warm a lot of the time, it can also get cold enough to have snow up in the mountains. Not a lot of snow, and the snow won't stay there all year because the mountains aren't that big and the weather gets warm, but there will be some snow up there. And so Joel, who's learning about the weather in New Zealand, he's never been there, he's like, wow, that's interesting. And he says, that sounds like here in the winter. And yeah, by here, he means Taiwan in the winter, as we mentioned. The mountains of Taiwan can get snow in the winter. You know, it won't be there a long time. By the summer, it's warm, it's gone. But yes, in the winter time, when it's really, really cold, you can go up to some of the high mountains of Taiwan and see snow there. So it is kind of the same.
Yeah, all right. And Haley says, you're right. However, it isn't that humid. Okay. Kind of what we were talking about earlier, where we're both of us, since we're from, you're from Canada, I'm from New York, right? Our summers can definitely get hot, but kind of, similarly, where we're from, it's not that humid.
No, not all the time like it is in Taiwan. But yes, that wetness in the air is definitely part of weather in Taiwan all the time, but especially during the hot summer months. All right, let's go over to Tina one more time.
Joe 说听起来很像这里的冬天。Haley 说没错，不过那里没有这么潮湿。我们来看文法 ，sound like 听起来像 ，like 之后要接名词 ，sound 在这里是动词的用法，表达听起来。比如说 ，That sounds like a good idea， 那听起来是个好主意。接着我们回到对话当中。
Okay, so we have just pretty much wrapped up day 2 of our dialogue. We're talking about the weather. And we learned that Haley is a lovely girl from New Zealand, and she was kind enough to share a little bit about the weather with Joel and what it's like in her hometown.
Yeah, she's from Queenstown, which is in the South Island, of course, up in the mountains, so it does get cold. They do have snow, just like in Taiwan here in the winter. In the mountains, the snow will go away in the warmer summer months, but it can be cold, but not as humid, not as sticky and wet in the air as it sometimes feels in Taiwan. So there you go, learning about different parts of the world and different weather can be interesting. It can also help you decide where to go on holiday. So if you want weather that's different from Taiwan, maybe don't go to the South Island of New Zealand. Maybe go to the Sahara Desert or somewhere like that. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll have one more dialogue on the topic of weather for you tomorrow. And the famous actress Kristen Stewart is going to be here. She's in the dialogue. She is the dialogue. It's very exciting. Hollywood star joining us here tomorrow. We'll see you then. Joel is talking to Haley.
You are from New Zealand, right?
Yes, my family lives in Queenstown. It is on the South Island.
What is the weather like there?
It is spring now, so the days are long and not too chilly. However, it is also still snowy until October.
It is still snowy? How is that possible?
Queenstown is in the mountains, so sometimes it can get cold and windy.
That sounds like here in the winter.
You are right. However, it isn't that humid.
我们来复习一下这一课的重点单字跟文法。单字的部分 ，island 名词岛 ，until 介系词直到什么时候。Possible 形容词可能的 ，mountain 名词山。接着我们来看文法的部分。A is from B，A 来自 B，B 通常为国家、城市等与地点相关的名词。Many good machines are from Japan， 许多好品质的机器都来自日本。 What is the weather like? 天气怎么样？ What is the weather like there in the fall? 那里的秋季天气如何？ It is cool and dry. 天气凉爽且干燥。Sound like 听起来像。That sounds like a good way to do things. 那听起来是个不错的做法。以上就是这一课的重点单词跟文法，我们下一课再见，拜拜。
Hey, Shane.
Hey, what's up? You look kind of off.
I'm just having one of those bad hair days.
Bad hair days, but your hair looks great.
No, it's just an expression. It means that everything is going wrong today.
Oh, that sounds rough. So what happened?
Well, first I forgot my umbrella, then I went back to get it. Then I missed my bus. So of course I was late for work. And then to top it off, I spilled coffee on my shirt. It was one disaster after another.
That sounds terrible.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Today's idiom is bad hair day.
Right. It's used to describe a day when everything seems to go wrong.
Now, imagine your hair just won't cooperate and it throws your whole day off.
Exactly. And while it can refer to feeling unhappy with your appearance, it usually just means a day when nothing goes right or you're simply in a bad mood.
Here's an example sentence. I'm having a bad hair day, and even the simplest tasks are going wrong.
Or, don't talk to me right now. I'm having a bad hair day, and everything feels frustrating.
So next time it feels like nothing is going your way, you might just be having a bad hair day.
Absolutely. And that's all for today.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.